Hi there, everybody. Okay, it's Aydan Metch. I'm here. It's about 6:30 in the morning. I just woke up. Today, Star Wars comes out December 14th. I get to see it early. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to go. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I think about it afterwards. I'm pumped. I have no expectations for it. I want to be fair about it. I haven't seen any reviews. I haven't seen a lot of even the promotional stuff. I'm excited for the movie. I want to go in there blank slate. I'm excited. Today's Star Wars Day.
Taking the same old thing and recycling it, like they did with episode 7.
They did it well. They did episodes.
I'm speechless. For once in my life, I am honestly, completely and utterly speechless. I'll start this off by saying that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I always have been and I always will be. Star Wars was a huge part of my childhood. I always loved the movies. I loved everything about it. It was something different. And even if some of it sucked, some of it was great, there was still something there about Star Wars that no other franchise had. I love Star Wars. I will always love Star Wars. Star Wars is something really important to me. And if there's a great Star Wars movie, I'll praise them. I love when there's a great movie. If there's a bad Star Wars movie, I'm not gonna say that they've ruined Star Wars for me. I'm not gonna say that my childhood's been ruined, because it hasn't. My childhood with Star Wars was great. But this movie, it didn't ruin anything for me. It didn't ruin my childhood. But I feel like it really knocked the new trilogy off course. The Last Jedi is not a bad movie. The Last Jedi is not the worst Star Wars movie to ever come out. You'll see on all rating sites either give it a 1 star out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. It's neither of those. Is it worse than the prequels? Absolutely not. Is it better than the original trilogy? Absolutely not. It has a lot to live up to. The new trilogy has so much to live up to. It has to live up to generations of fans, and that is something that is incredibly hard to do. And The Last Jedi had a lot on its plate. It had a lot to do. There were things that I liked, there were things that I loved, but those were outweighed by the things that I hated. I didn't want this movie to be bad, but I didn't expect it to be a masterpiece. I went in there with no expectations whatsoever. I expected it to be entertaining, to be fun. I didn't expect it to be the next Empire Strikes Back, and I was excited, incredibly excited. But The Last Jedi lacks something that most Star Wars movies have, and I don't know what it is. There's nothing in The Last Jedi. It's really something different that I didn't think that they could do. And there's nothing wrong with being different. I didn't want the new trilogy to just, each movie to be a cookie cutter of the last movie, because even though The Force Awakens paralleled A New Hope a lot, I had no problem with that, but I didn't want that to continue, because I wanted to watch a new story unfold and not what I've already seen so many times throughout my life. The Last Jedi tried something different, and I commend them for that. I commend the crew, I commend everybody on it for trying to be different, for trying to stand out. But sadly, it didn't work. Let's talk about some things that I did like. Overall, I loved the music. The music was great. Visually, it was pleasing. I liked it a lot. Overall, it looked great. Sounded great. The music was great. Of course it is. I love the characters. I love the actors. I think that the physical people on screen were really trying, and they were doing the best that they could, and which was great. I connected with the characters somewhat. But where it falls apart is the most important thing, the story. And the story is mostly what you think it would be. Picks up, I believe, right after where the last one ended. You're thrown right back into Rey giving the lightsaber to Luke. I can't talk about this movie without spoiling a little bit. If you haven't seen The Last Jedi, please go out and see it. Have your own opinion. Don't let me spoil this for you, because it's still a Star Wars movie, and I feel like it's wrong to spoil that for anybody. Alright, we're getting into the spoilers right now. If you are still watching and you have not seen The Last Jedi, please stop watching this video. I respect, your right to enjoy a Star Wars movie. My opinion should not at all sway yours. We would start with Poe Dameron flying towards the First Order fleet. General Hux is there. A lot of people give General Hux flack for just being this crazy over-the-top guy. I think that's fine. I love when Star Wars is corny. I love when they don't take themselves too seriously. But he kind of goes up there and starts to stall so that they can blast towards the ship, I think was happening. He's stalling, and he just starts... This is one of the weakest things about the movie that really took me out of it, is the quips. If you don't know what a quip is, try watching a Marvel movie. The Marvel movies do it well. It gets kind of old because there's not a lot of comedy in them. You'll be doing something and they'll kind of bicker to each other, something passive-aggressive. They'll say something and they'll just kind of... It takes you out of the movie somewhat, but Marvel makes it work because they know that what they're doing is kind of crazy. With The Last Jedi, it starts out serious, it starts out like a Star Wars movie, and Poe just starts quipping. He makes a your mom joke, and Hux gets mad and tries to shoot him. Ugh. And it completely takes you out of the movie, and I hate that. The whole intro, while it's exciting, it's slow. It's really slow, and it's not the explosive boom that most Star Wars movies start out with. And again, being different is great, but it didn't work. Then, of course, afterwards, you get to Rey giving the lightsaber to Luke. Everybody's been speculating for 2 years now on what's going to happen. Immediately, Luke chucks the lightsaber off the cliff behind him, which was weird, but I was like, okay, this probably has a purpose. This has a meaning. Luke is trying to end the Jedi. He doesn't explain why. I believe it's just because of what happened with Kylo Ren, and he doesn't want more Sith, but he's like, time for the Jedi to die. Never explains it. And then they start having this deep, dramatic conversation, and again, with the quips, Luke, he says some funny line, which would be funny in another movie, or if the tone was right, but it just doesn't work for Luke. I love Mark Hamill as a person. He has a great personality, he's incredibly exciting. He's a great person, and he brought a lot of his personality into the role of Luke. As we saw in the original, he was an annoying, bitchy teenager, and by the sixth one, he was finally a Jedi. He was strong, he was courageous, he was kind, he was stern, he was serious. He became a Jedi. But in this, he's just Mark Hamill. He's really just Mark Hamill. Just annoying to me. The whole first act is completely tonally off, and I hate that. I really hate that. And then, of course, you get into the... Luke just starts doing his normal stuff while Rey follows him. We don't know how long this is. He jumps across a cliff. He catches a fish. This part, I was like, oh my god, what am I watching? Where there's this giant monster, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I think it's a practical effect. And then it pans down, and it shows the animal's nipples, which there's 4 of, and Luke walks over and squeezes one of the boobs, and a bunch of green shit spews out. He looks at Rey and is dribbling down his face, and Rey's just like, okay, this is normal, and I'm watching it, I'm like, what is this? This isn't, what's happening? There's just a lot of this random stuff that I feel like should have been cut out. It didn't feel like Star Wars. Then we meet Rose Tico. portrayed by Kelly Marie Tran, who I've always liked. I saw her in College Humor. She was funny. She's always been really good. She's been a really good person. She's been a great personality. And when I heard she was in the new Star Wars, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. So I was excited for that. I was genuinely excited for that to happen. And when she meets up with Finn, she has this whole fangirl thing, which was a little bit annoying, because we all know how annoying fangirls are. Not saying that I get any, that women hate me. So we get into, you know, she meets Finn, and she's all fangirling out, and then she shocks him, and then they kind of team up afterwards to go and disable the rebellion, the First Order's fleet from tracking them from where they're going. They're trying to get to a new base. And they kind of go on this adventure to go do it. And this is where it was exciting somewhat, but it didn't feel Star Wars. So they immediately go to talk to Maz Kanata, who is, of course, the weird orange alien from the last movie. Maz wasn't anything special. She was kind of kooky. She was there. But then they show her in this hologram, which is completely unnecessary. I don't know why she needs to be there. I guess to tell them who to find to help disable the ship. But the way that they're filming her, holograms have always been confusing in Star Wars. But I think in this, somewhat it's just been, you stand in an area and it films you in that area. This, the camera is literally following Maz around. So Maz is in the middle of a space battle, and she's shooting people all over the place, and she's jumping up and down, and the camera is following her at all these angles and is going up on top of her and moving around, but it's this little tiny hologram, and it's really confusing. And who was filming her? Nobody. What was happening? It took me out of the movie completely, and it was unnecessary to have Maz in there at all. Whatever. They go to this casino planet, and a casino, I get what you could say it would fit in Star Wars. It just doesn't make sense in Star Wars, but they could possibly make it work, right? They set it up as this lush country club like Las Vegas, and you go in there and it's all 1960s James Bond, and they're all rolling and wearing the suits, and it didn't feel Star Wars whatsoever. It was just bizarre to see it because it had all this weird retro music playing, and it just didn't fit for Star Wars. They go in there. I think that Rose and Finn are great. Let me just point that out. I think that they're great. They're fun characters. I enjoyed them. But the whole casino place was just stupid. And the theme of going to that casino was that the people there are so rich because they're selling weapons and tools to the First Order. So Rose is like, oh, they killed my family, and they are horrible people because of what they did. And I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, they're trying to get a theme across the Star Wars, which is fine. But this theme is that, these people are horrible for selling weapons to profiting off of war. Which is what people do in real life, and is it good? It's crazy. But they go into this whole thing about how these aristocrats are just disgusting and horrible, and that's kind of the theme of the entire. That's the reason that they're there, and it's kind of bizarre. I don't want Star Wars to make a political statement. We go to Star Wars to avoid politics, because Star Wars isn't about politics. Star Wars isn't about the real world. I don't want it to connect to the real world, because it's supposed to take you out of the world. It's supposed to be something different, and that's why it's so special. But and then they get this whole animal rights thing where they have like a horse racing ring, and Rose is like, oh, they're so horrible. They're torturing these animals and making them race. And they eventually free all these alien horses, and she's like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm just watching this, and I'm just like, what is this? They're making a political statement on horse racing now? And profiting off of war? And whether or not you agree with it, I don't want any political statements or any allegories, and I don't want any political statements in my Star Wars movies. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, the Imperials are meant to represent, the Nazis, and then the other side, it's supposed to be like World War II. Yes, that's fine. I get that. But I think it's a general consensus that the Nazis sucked, and that the Nazis sucked. Everybody can hopefully agree with that now. I know at least half of America can agree with that. Nazis sucked. Even people that love Nazis, they still watch Star Wars because they don't care. But this is where the originals get it right, and this movie somehow got it wrong. While the originals make a political statement about that Nazis sucked, that's not the entire point of them. They're the antagonists. They propel the story. They are half the story. As this whole casino set piece is really one-sided. They're just trying to make a point about two very specific things, and it just doesn't fit in a Star Wars movie. It really took me out of the movie, and I hated that. I really hated that. There were a lot of things that took me out of the movie. For example, you had Luke was gonna burn all the books, and then Ghost Yoda shows up, and I'm just like, what in the hell? And I was like, you know what? No, don't judge this. You're such a prick, Aydan. It's Star Wars. You love Star Wars. It's Yoda. Dope. And they have the Yoda puppet, which is cool, because there's not a lot of practical effects. The prequels did CGI Yoda. Even though he looked totally fake and stupid, it's a puppet, and times have changed, and it contrasts completely between the CGI, and it just looks so fake and really takes you out of the movie. But I can't complain about it because at least they went practical, which is enough. My complaint with it is, why the hell is Yoda there? Yoda is completely unnecessary. The entire scene is not necessary in the movie. Yoda's there for no reason other than to strike the thing with fire and be like, yeah, the Jedi need to end. And there's this whole scene before that where Luke goes to see R2-D2, who's there for literally one scene in the Millennium Falcon, and he's like, oh, R2-D2, you're never going to change my mind. I want the Jedi to end. And then he plays a little video where he plays the hologram from the original movie with Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And he's like, okay, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go and finish, all right, I'm going to go and help the Jedi. And then he's back to destroying the Jedi. It's confusing. I don't understand what's happening. There's something that I really did like with it, though. I loved Rey. Was great. I really liked Rey. Daisy Ridley's a great actress. She's fun in the movie. She's enjoyable in the movies, and I want to see where she can go with this. Kylo Ren is a crying baby boy, but he's good at it. He's good. Adam Driver is great as Kylo Ren, even though he's this little sniveling little boy. Same with Hux. They're both just prying for Snoke's attention. They don't make great antagonists, which is why they bring in Snoke. Andy Serkis is great as Snoke. Snoke was threatening. Snoke was the emperor of this trilogy, and he really made the First Order seem scary, because they didn't. You had Kylo Ren, who's this temperamental, teenager, and then Hux, who's as well just a temperamental little teenager. It's not scary. But with Snoke, you said, all right, that's our anchor. That's what's terrifying. And then they kill him. So now, what's the First Order? It's nothing. The First Order, the most dangerous thing they have is two depressed, temperamental teenagers against 10 people now in the Resistance. The Resistance is dead. There's 15 people left. I know it'll come back. They have another movie to make. But I loved the connection between Kylo Ren and Rey. It was cool. I was confused at the beginning, but they made it work. It was interesting. I loved the scenes of them together. I think that they act great together. They have good chemistry. And it was interesting to see them, this horrific person, Kylo Ren, who Rey hated, and they kind of bonded. And it was interesting. I loved the part where they both took out their lightsabers and were just beating people, beating up the guards. It was awesome. I loved that. And the ending of the movie, where they were just shooting down ships, Laura Dern was there, and she was in the ship, and she left herself behind to sacrifice herself to pilot, but she didn't need to pilot anything. She could have just left. But then after they destroyed 90% of the ships that were leaving and everybody was dead in the Resistance except for 10 people, then they get to Laura Dern and she's like, okay, I guess I'll do something now. And then she kills herself by flying into a bunch of ships, and it's why would you do that now? You had so much time and you wasted so many lives. Carrie Fisher's great as Princess Leia. Princess Leia was great. She was interesting. What was the part where she died? I was like, oh my god, they killed her. And then she was like, nah, I got the Force. And then she kind of just zoomed away. And it's what is happening there? That doesn't make any sense. And she comes back, and then they go to the base, and it doesn't make. And then Rose and Finn are there, and Benicio del Toro. Oh my god! Like what? He sucked. I hated him. And Rose comes back, and Finn come back, and they're in these junky speeders. They go down to the crate where they have the resistance base. I don't know if it was already there. They didn't establish that it was already there. Whatever. And then they're in these junky speeders. Why would they let Rose in a spaceship? She worked in the pipes. Why would they let Finn have a spaceship? He worked in sanitation. They don't know what they're doing. They shouldn't be flying spaceships. And then you have Luke showing up, and that was kind of confusing, but they cleared that up, so that made sense. And the stupid ice foxes, why were they inside of the building? Is the resistance now like animal rights group? They're trying to save these animals from it. The guy reaches down and goes, salt. And it's like, yeah, no, really. Is there? You've been here for a while. You haven't figured out that that's salt? Then they're just shooting each other, and it's just noise, and there's nothing. It's just empty. And then you get the final shots of them, and Rey's like, ooh, and she lifts up the stuff, and then, okay, everybody's safe. They get in the Millennium Falcon. And then, you know, whatever, Finn's cozying up with Rose, and like protecting her, and it's like, oh, it's cute. What's gonna happen? When does the plot start? Because nothing happened in this movie. Everything took place on the island, on a spaceship, and then in the last 20 minutes on this stupid planet that we know nothing about. And then you think, all right, it's over. It's over. But no, it's not. We get to go back to the casino planet with the horse racing whole gimmick, and then you have these little kids that were taking care of the horses, and Rose gave one of them her ring, and then he walks outside, and you have all these little kids, and they're like playing with dolls, and then the kid walks outside with a broom, and he's dusting stuff, and he looks up into the sky and sees a spaceship, and he's like, wow! And then he lifts up his broom like it's a lightsaber, and then it shows the ring, and then he smiles, and then it ends, and you're just like, what in the hell was that? And I walked out of the theater speechless. I couldn't say anything about the movie, because it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It had everything there that a Star Wars movie had, but it just felt empty and cold and rushed. And that's something with these new Star Wars movies. You have 2 years to make each of them. 2 years to make a movie is good, but when you need to live up to all of this, you failed miserably. The Force Awakens was good. It was a fine movie. I enjoyed it. It was a better Star Wars movie. The Last Jedi, I don't care. It was already delayed 6 months. I don't care if they had to delay it more, but I wanted a cohesive, good Star Wars movie, and I didn't get that. We didn't get that, and it felt empty. And I think that they need to spend more time on Star Wars. It's a beloved series, and if they fail Star Wars and they mess it up, like they did with the prequels, Star Wars will bounce back. But you're losing out on a lot. Who cares about putting it out by Christmas? I know, it's made to sell toys. If you had to delay it another year, we had to wait 3 years, but we got a good Star Wars movie, I would not be complaining. I want a good Star Wars movies. I love good movies. The Last Jedi isn't a good movie. It's not a good Star Wars movie. It's not a good movie. I know that my opinion is my opinion, and people are going to have different opinions. I know there's going to be people that are like, oh, you're such a bandwagon with all the people that hated it. You know, Star Wars is always awesome. How dare you? And these crazy fanboys that defend it no matter what. I love Star Wars. Star Wars is an integral part of me. It made me who I am. It's why I have an interest in filmmaking. I will never not like Star Wars. Star Wars is a part of me. Star Wars is the reason that I do what I do. I love to make movies because of Star Wars. This movie, just because it's a Star Wars movie, does not make it a good movie. I love Star Wars. I do not love this. You've seen The Last Jedi. What do you think about it? Leave your answers in the comments, please. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Contradict me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Have a debate. I want to talk about this because this Star Wars was something that let me down, and I hate being let down. So please talk about it. Be civil down there. If you have a different opinion than mine, that's great. If you loved it, props to you. I know I didn't like it. In my opinion, it's a bad movie, but if you enjoyed it, and that's awesome, and I'm so happy for you that you can really like the movie. But in the end, the movie wasn't for me. So if you like this video, leave a like, comment down below what you think about it, and if you want to see more of whatever the hell I'm up to, just subscribe. I'm Aydan Metch. I'm here talking about The Last Jedi. And may the Force be with you.